Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has placed himself at the forefront of the defense of Qatar in the face of Saudi Arabia-led economic and diplomatic sanctions. A very grave mistake is being made in Qatar. Isolating a nation in all areas is inhumane and against Islamic values, Erdogan said in his weekly Tuesday address to his parliamentary deputies. It and a poses as if a death penalty decision has been taken for Qatar, said Erdogan. Erdogan is backing his increasingly tough rhetoric with action. A Turkish delegation flew Tuesday to Doha to prepare for the deployment of a military force in Qatar, which ultimately will rise to about 5,000 soldiers. Ankara already has sent large amounts of food to break economic sanctions against Qatar. The risks, however, are high. If there is an escalation into a confrontation or any kind of hot conflict, this would expose those soldiers to all kinds of threats, warned retired Turkish Ambassador Onal Sevkez, who heads the Ankara Policy Forum Research Group. The Turkish army deployment is part of a military cooperation agreement with Qatar made before the crisis that also includes naval and air components. The army element of the deployment was brought forward by the onset of the crisis, with the Turkish parliament rushing through the required legislation to sanction it. Playing down risk of military confrontation, analyst Sinan Ulcan, a visiting scholar of the Carnegie Institute, points out that only a handful of Turkish soldiers initially will be deployed. Political and diplomatic side, rather than the military side of the deployment, will be most important, said Ulcan, because Turkey is seen to have adopted a position firmly in support of Qatar that is certainly going to cause complications with other GCC Gulf cooperation countries, primarily Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Erdogan and a poses robust stance in support of Qatar, scotched his foreign minister Mevlut Cavusoglu and a poses offer to mediate. This approach, unfortunately, is becoming a trend, and it has developed into a pattern in Turkey and a poses foreign policy conduct, lamented Sevkez. It is not in line with Turkey and a poses traditional policy of impartiality toward the problems of the region. The consequences are dangerous, and it has already resulted with Turkey and a poses isolation in the international